What's up, guys? 3-1 last night, and finally I'm almost back to breaking even on the year, almost back to where I was at the start of the year, very close to it. Feeling a little bit better, trending in the right direction. Let's avoid having a losing year for me for the first time and the only time since 2015. I would like to avoid that if possible. 2-0 in baseball yesterday. The baseball plays pretty easy wins. Seattle Mariners with a shutout, and then what was the other play? I don't even remember what the hell it was. But those both won, and then the hockey play got there. Finally, the Colorado Avalanche finally were able to do it. Able to play a good game, get the win there. And the basketball game did not get there. I believe that Kawhi Leonard played last night in the Clippers game, right? Because that shifted. So, unfortunately, I was on the only game in the NBA, the only game where the zigzag didn't come to fruition, because Dallas and Indiana both were able to zigzag and get there. And, of course, I was on the loser on Phoenix, which I thought was the best of the three. Dallas, that was a close game, but what happened, I believe, in that game was when it was announced that Leonard was playing, the line shifted from Dallas being a 2-point favorite all the way over to the Clippers being, I think, a 1-point favorite or something like that, or close to a pick 'em. So that would put it in like reverse injured player theory territory, because now, the Clippers, now they're getting one of their star players back and they have to work him back into the mix, which, yeah, like in the long run, having Kawhi Leonard is obviously going to be better for them. But in that game one, they tend to be a little bit overvalued. A team tends to be a little bit overvalued when they have that star player come back. And I think that was the case there. The line moved more than 2 points or whatever. So at that point, I was pretty tempted. I almost did it. I was like, oh man, I should come in on Dallas here. Just grab them at like the pick 'em. That would have been tense. It would have been a sweat. But Dallas did wind up winning that game. So congratulations to them. Indiana played a really good game as well. I don't know if there's anything else to really say about those games. Today, NBA, only 2 games. Heat, Celtics, game 2. Celtics look like they're down from 15 to 14.5 with juice, but 67% of the tickets and only 59% of the cash on the Heat. So even though the line is ticked down, it looks like the Celtics actually have the cash discrepancy and actually kind of look like an anti-public home favorite. The game one, I was at the game. Game one was a total blowout. Like, the Celtics just took their foot off the gas a couple of times. They had a huge lead early and then kind of blew that. Then they got the entire lead back and then some, and they were winning by more than 30 points, like pretty deep into the game. And then in the fourth quarter, again, I think they just took their foot off the gas. So the Celtics could have won game one by even more than what they actually did. I don't really have a lean in this one, but it seems like the series is just a mismatch, man. I don't know. Celtics obviously should win outright. As far as covering that huge number, not really sure about that. And then Pelicans, Thunder are down. It looks like from 8 to 7.5. 54% of the tickets on them, 67% of the cash. So I think Pelicans put a scare into them in game one. The Pelicans almost won game one. So I think I would lean to the Thunder in this one. I'm not actually going to, I'm tempted to actually do it though, because it is like the zigzag type of spot now, the zigzag theory now. Should I actually do it? Maybe I should. Yeah, let's lay the points with the Thunder in this one. Why not? Even though whenever I say this and I add something to my card, I always lose. But Pelicans, 7.5. I think game one, Thunder, minus 7.5. Thunder. I mean, game one's going to have put a scare into the Thunder. This is going to be like a zigzag type of spot where we're actually getting a little bit of benefit on the line, I think, now. Because the Thunder, I think, were 8-point favorites in game one or something. So the line really hasn't moved to accommodate for the zigzag or anything like that, even though, yeah, you might say the Thunder are slightly overvalued. Pelicans don't have Zion, but they've been without Zion for a couple games now, and this gets into territory where it's like, how much are the Pelicans going to have left in the tank? They went all out in game one, couldn't quite get there. Now I think they might be in almost even like a hangover spot, even though it is the playoffs, whereas the Thunder obviously are the better of the two teams, and I think they might be scared into focus in this game after almost losing game one. So I would expect a better effort from the better team in the Thunder in this one. So that is what I will do in that one. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about that more than I was. It looks like the cash discrepancy is on the Thunder. Both of these teams are young, though, so the experience edge doesn't really exist in favor of either team here. But I think that the better team being at home, when you have two inexperienced teams, that team is probably going to have the edge as far as the quick turnaround time as well. So I think that's okay as well. So we'll take the Oklahoma City Thunder in that one and lay the points. I should have played the Pelicans in game one. I almost got there with that one. And then moving over to Major League Baseball. Hey, maybe this will be a quick video this time. There are a couple of spots where I was like, oh, this is a mismatch. I do like the San Francisco Giants with Blake Snell. They're up from -110 to -122. This one was close to a play for me. That's Manaea against Snell. Manaea from the Mets has not very good numbers against the San Francisco Giants. Snell has pretty good numbers against the Mets. It does look like the Mets are a public underdog yet again, which they have been a couple times in that series, I think. 61% of the tickets, 56% of the cash on the Mets, with reverse line movement coming in on San Francisco. Close to wanting to play in San Francisco there. And the bullpen situation is actually kind of a wash in that one. I mean, should I actually add this one too? I was trying to be selective here, man. But you got a situation where Sean Manaea, I mean, he's coming off a decent performance against the Dodgers, but last three performances, he's only gone 5 innings, and 3 2/3. That 3 2/3, he got real beat up. He has a 4.12 ERA, 1.37 whip this year, so he has been allowing a lot of base runners. 10 walks and 19 2/3. Wildness. That's pretty bad. 21 strikeouts is pretty good. But versus the Giants hitters, they're 24 for 85 off him lifetime with 4 doubles, a triple, 3 home runs. Does have a 16-4 strikeout walk ratio against them, but still it's a 282 batting average and 773 OPS. Whereas Blake Snell, I think he hasn't been pitching well, but I think he has a misleading ERA here at 11.57. 1.97 whip is pretty terrible too, but he does have a 12.5 strikeout walk ratio. So a lot of it is just that he's been getting hit. 18 hits and 11 2/3. You got to think that's going to come down at some point. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll just stay off of this one, but I do like the Giants in this one. I don't think they really have a bullpen edge in this one, but I do think they have the starting pitching edge. As bad as Snell has been pitching, yeah, I mean, they've lost all of his games so far, and a couple of those games weren't against good offenses, really, either in Washington and Tampa Bay. I don't know, but against the Mets hitters, he's been pretty good. Large sample size. They're only 26 for 114 off him. They do have 5 home runs and 5 doubles off him, though. A 30-14 strikeout walk ratio. That's a 228 batting average and 716 OPS. So the OPS is a bit high with all those extra base hits there. The batting average is pretty good. I'll just stay off of it just because I don't like how Snell has been pitching so far this year. But I do lean to San Francisco. The market read is on San Francisco on that one. The market read would also be on Cincinnati against Philly. That's Turnbull. He's coming off of taking a no-hitter into the 7th or 8th inning or something in his previous start. Very good start for Turnbull and a good start to the season for him. But that also means he's really hot right now. So is he going to be in a letdown spot? Because that really good start didn't totally come from out of nowhere either. He's been good in almost every start this year. So if he had one extremely good start and it was kind of an outlier, I'd be like, yeah, you definitely got to go against him. I still lean against him here, but I don't think I can quite do this one. We do see 62% of the tickets on Philly, but 68% of the cash on the other side on the Reds. Reds up from -103 to -107. So market read and the fact that Turnbull, I think, could finally be in line for a little bit of a letdown. Looks like the lean would be to the Reds in this one, but Turnbull has really good numbers against the Reds hitters. They're only 3 for 21 off him. Not a huge sample size, but a 143 batting average. So he's done really well against them. And Nick Lodolo is pitching for Cincinnati. He's a young guy. The Phillies have seen him more, though, and they're 17 for 66 off him, so 258 batting average. So his numbers not horrible against Philly, but worse than Turnbull's are against Cincinnati. So I'll stay away from that one too. What else we got going on here? And then, of course, 2 of the guys that I've been on a couple times this year already. You have, what do we got? Garrett Crochet is pitching for the White Sox. Minnesota with Joe Ryan down from -195 to -188. They are very public. The Twins are 84% of the tickets, 83% of the cash. But they're big favorites, so I don't want to get involved in this one. The total's very low, though, so you could maybe look to take a run line play on the White Sox or something. Expected to be a pretty low-scoring game with two pitchers who've been decent so far, but Minnesota has actually seen Crochet once before, I believe, which was last year. I don't think he's faced them this year, but they do actually have a little bit of history against Crochet, although I think he did pretty well against them. But Minnesota's hitters are not coming in never having seen him before, although I still kind of like Crochet in that one because they haven't seen him this year. And he's really been dealing, even though he had a bad start in his last outing. His strikeout walk ratio is still really good. He has some really good stuff. And I think Ryan's numbers against the White Sox are not like that terrific. I think they're kind of middling. Actually, yeah, they have a 263 batting average off him. So I do lean to the White Sox in that one, taking them as like a big underdog, or maybe taking the run line with a really low total like that. There could be some nice value there, but I'm not going to get involved in that one. But that one would be close to being a play. And then Minnesota did win yesterday, 6-5. They're on the verge. Oh no, they're not on the verge of a sweep yet because I think they actually play tomorrow. So they have 2 more games left in the series. Minnesota also used more of their bullpen yesterday, so they're in a worse spot as far as the bullpen is concerned as well. So the lean would be to the White Sox in that one. And then, of course, the guy that I played on in his major league debut, Spencer Arrighetti, is pitching for Houston against Jameson Taillon for the Cubs. Taillon already made his first start of the season and pitched pretty well, so he could be in line for a little bit of a letdown in this particular spot here. Arrighetti has never been seen before by the Cubs, of course. That one we got Cubs down from -115 to -109, 82% of the tickets on them, 65% of the cash on the other side on Houston. Houston may be in line for a bounce back after a bad performance to start the series last night in a game that I was on. I won on the Cubs. Houston really just not playing well. The Cubs used one more reliever than Houston did yesterday. Cubs had to dip into the back end of their bullpen there to finish off the game. And I think, Jameson Taillon, let me see. I don't think he's that good against Houston's hitters. Yeah, Houston really rocks Taillon, actually, to the tune of a 346 batting average, 27 for 78, 970 OPS, 9 doubles, 3 home runs. So Taillon has definitely been rocked by these Houston hitters. So the lean there would be to Arrighetti. A lot of things. The only thing that keeps me off of that one is that Arrighetti's stats have just been pretty bad so far this year. It's just not something I want to get involved in. An 8.5 strikeout walk ratio, 9 runs allowed, 11 hits and 5 walks, all in 7 innings. Of course, he did face the Braves in one start, but he got rocked by Kansas City. His start against the Braves is actually a little bit better, but he hasn't gone deep into those games yet. He seems to be improving a little bit, though, although it's only 2 starts. His second start was better than the first. His numbers this year, probably aren't. His numbers this year look really bad. He's not as good. He's not as bad as his numbers look this year, but it's not quite something I want to really totally get involved in. Although I think Arrighetti should have a little bit of an advantage against the Cubs hitters, them having not seen him before, and Taillon being a guy who has been seen before a lot by Houston and has been beat up by them. The games that I'm actually going to be on right now, let me see which one is first on the schedule here. What do we got here? The first one is Milwaukee and Pittsburgh. Going to take this one over the 9. I don't even see any market percentages on this yet. You can get over 9 on the total. I'm still undefeated in full game totals, and hopefully that doesn't change here. Most of them have been unders. I've won on 2 overs. This one, I think I like the over in this one, Milwaukee and Pittsburgh, and I think the situation is conducive to it. We had a low-scoring game yesterday, so I think that might be a little bit misleading. I took the Brewers in one of the other overs after a low-scoring game they had against St. Louis, and then Brewers still have a pretty good offense, man. And I was right on the over in the game after that. It was a very high-scoring game, so I kind of expect this to be a high-scoring game as well. Yesterday, it was a 2-1 game, and neither team used that much of their bullpen, but they did use a couple of their best relievers, both teams did, to finish off that game in a 2-1 final. So the bullpens aren't like totally burned out, but I think they're going to have to dip into their bullpens here because these starting pitchers, they're actually both kind of converted relievers right now. Both starting pitchers in this matchup have been in the bullpen this year. One is Bryce Wilson. So, you look, his ERA, like on the surface, looks good, 3.29, 0.88 whip, but he's been coming out of the bullpen, man. He's made 1 start so far this year, and I don't even know which game it was, but whatever it was that 3 2/3 performance, I think, against San Diego. He doesn't really have the ability to go deep into games, man, I don't think. Bryce Wilson from Milwaukee. So I think they're going to have to dip into their bullpen early. He's been around for a while. He did make 20 starts in 2022 with Pittsburgh. Other than that, he was a starter actually up through that season, and then he was a reliever last year for Milwaukee. His numbers were a lot better as a reliever, man. Like, his stats on his career are bad: 4.74 ERA, 1.37 WHIP, 235 strikeouts and 103 walks, and 322 and 2/3. There's nothing to like about any of that. A 2.3 strikeout walk ratio. It's a low strikeout rate, a very high walk rate, a high ERA, a high WHIP. Nothing to like about any of that. And his season is his most full season as a starter with Pittsburgh in 2022, awful stats: 5.52 ERA, 1.42 WHIP, 79 strikeouts and 32 walks, and 115 and 2/3. So yeah, I don't trust anything that I see out of Bryce Wilson here. And against Pittsburgh's hitters, they're 12 for 40 off him with 2 doubles. They don't have any home runs off him. Does have a 7.1 strikeout walk ratio, but that's still a 300 batting average and an 892 OPS. So you expect him to not go deep into this game, and he hasn't been good against Pittsburgh's hitters. So there's nothing to really like about any of that. And then on the side of Pittsburgh, Josh Fleming is pitching, and his stats on the season probably look better than he actually is as well, with a 1.74 ERA and 1.06 WHIP. Bryce Wilson, as I said, on the year, 3.29 ERA, 0.88 WHIP. So both of these guys have good numbers on the season, but again, it's basically all as a relief man for Josh Fleming as well. Fleming doesn't have any starts this year. All of his appearances have been out of the bullpen. He has made mostly relief appearances in his career. Most starts he made was back in 2021. He made 11 starts for Tampa and 26 appearances and had a 5.09 ERA that year, 1.35 WHIP. 65 strikeouts and 104 1/3 innings pitched there and 31 walks, 2.1 strikeout walk ratio that year. Nothing good about any of that. Over his career, pretty bad numbers: 4.74 ERA, 1.4 WHIP, 233 and 2/3 innings pitched with only 151 strikeouts and 72 walks, 2.1 strikeout walk ratio. So just like his counterpart there on the Brewers there, for Bryce Wilson, Josh Fleming has very similar numbers, with an ERA on his career that's too high, a WHIP that's too high, strikeout rate is low, number of walks is too high, bad strikeout walk ratio. There's just nothing to really like here, man. I'm sorry. On the season, he's got a 7-3 strikeout walk ratio. I don't even know what Bryce Wilson's is on the season, but Fleming's other numbers look better than that 7-3. Wilson's is actually 12-2 on the season, which isn't that bad, but he's given up 3 home runs. So I don't know. Fleming hasn't given up any, but he's been walking too many. But again, it's mostly out of the bullpen for both these guys. And then Fleming hasn't been seen that much by the Brewers. They only have 4 hitters who have seen him before, but they're 3 for 8 off him lifetime with a home run, 375 batting average, small sample size, but still 375 batting average and a 1,194 OPS. So both of these pitchers probably aren't guys that are going to go deep into these games, and they're also both guys who don't have a good track record against these opposing hitters and just don't have good numbers in general. So all of that sets this up to look like a game where the offenses are going to be able to put up some runs, even though Pittsburgh's offense hasn't been that good. Milwaukee's offense is the better of the two, but still, I like it to go over the total. That'll be over 9 in that one. And then the other game I'm going to be on is going to be on Toronto against Kansas City. This is another situation that sets up, I think, nicely. The market looks to be in agreement here. Toronto up from -107 to -118 as a road favorite. 54% of the tickets, 87% of the cash. So the money's coming in on Toronto. The line's moving up on Toronto. A lot of things to like about this. And Toronto's in a bounce-back spot. They actually lost at Kansas City yesterday. So they won the first game of the series 5-3 and then lost yesterday 3-2. Close game. Kansas City, big win for Kansas City, being able to beat Toronto. Not only beat them, but Gausman pitched for Toronto. He didn't even allow any runs. All of the runs that Kansas City scored were unearned. So that also makes it kind of a misleading result, man. Toronto actually out-hit them 9-8. Kansas City had no earned runs in the entire game, and they still won because of an error that led to 3 runs, which were all the runs that Gausman allowed. So he had a good start, except he didn't have many strikeouts, but still lost the game because of it. Blue Jays only used 2 relievers. the Royals used 3, and it was all of their best relievers because they needed to come in and save the game. Walker actually pitched worse than Gausman, had a lot of hits and walks. It was kind of shocking that he didn't allow more than 2 runs in that game, really. Blue Jays offense has got to get going a little bit, man. But I like the Blue Jays to bounce back here. You got a misleading result there. Blue Jays might be pissed. They lost that game on an error like that. Whereas Kansas City, I mean, yeah, they were able to get that big win over the Blue Jays. Kind of lucked out there, man. I think Kansas City's record, I don't know how good Kansas City really is, man. I mean, this is a situation where they're a home underdog here, and I think rightfully so. Books are telling you Toronto's the better team, but they're also telling you that the starting pitching matchup is probably better for Toronto. Alec Marsh is pitching for Kansas City. His stats look good on the season for sure. He's 3-0 with a 3.22 ERA and 1.03 whip. So I think that's leading to, even though the public is slightly on Toronto, there's way more of the cash than the public coming in on Toronto. The ticket percentages are almost evenly split. So recreational bettors might come in and actually think, oh, Marsh has good numbers this year. 3-0, 3.22 ERA, 1.03 whip. He's been dealing it this year, and yes, he has. He might be improving, man, because he only has 1 season so far prior to this one on his career, although his stats last year were pretty bad. 5.69 ERA last year, 1.56 whip. Good strikeout rate, but a ton of walks last year. 85 strikeouts and 39 walks and 74 and a third. This year he has a 16.5 strikeout walk ratio and 22 and a third. So his strikeout rate has actually gone down this year, but his walk rate has also gone way down. So his whip has gone down. But how much do we trust him? I don't know, man. He doesn't go that deep into games, except he did go, he had a nice start against Baltimore in his first start this year, but it looks like he's been kind of, I don't know, he's been trending a little bit in the wrong direction. He didn't have a good start against the White Sox, and the White Sox can't hit at all. The Mets have a good offense, and they hit him pretty well. And then he had another shutout, or he had a shutout against Baltimore, but only for 5 2/3, and he kind of put too many men on base in that game. So he does have, his 2 best starts are both against Baltimore. So maybe there's just kind of a matchup thing there, even though Baltimore, pretty good team. So Marsh, yeah, I mean, shouldn't take away too much from him. He's been pretty good this year, but he is running into another pretty good team here in the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays are 4 for 15 off him lifetime. So it's not a huge sample size, but basically everybody in the lineup has faced him like once before. 4 for 15. They have no home runs off him, 2 doubles, a triple. He has a 5.2 strikeout walk ratio against him. It's a 267 batting average and 886 OPS. So the OPS is a bit high there. So Toronto has hit him, okay in their career, and kind of in their careers, and kind of a short sample size. But Toronto does decent against Marsh, even though he is improving. On the other side, you got Toronto throwing Yariel Rodriguez. He's only made 2 starts in his entire career this season, and he's kind of been dealing it, man. His strikeout rate is crazy high so far. He's been on like a short leash, I think, so far this year. They're kind of easing him into his major league career. He only went 3 2/3 in his first outing in a game that I won on, actually, against Colorado. And then they let him go a little bit longer against San Diego in the next game. Pitcher-friendly park at San Diego, but still, they let him go 4 innings in that one. Over those 2 starts, he only allowed 1 earned run in each of them, both of which were a solo home run. He has a 13.3 strikeout walk ratio so far in 7 2/3 innings. So his that walk number is actually kind of too high, but still, that's a really good strikeout rate and a good strikeout walk rate. He's a guy that definitely has good potential, man. I think he has a high ceiling, good strikeout stuff. He does have a 2.35 ERA this year after all that, but a 1.3 whip. The whip is too high, so he's got to get that down. The number of walks is really the entire thing there, that he really has to get that under control. He's a little bit wild, but he has really good strikeout stuff, and the Royals have never seen him before. So I think he has the upper hand in this matchup, man. It's another one of those, it's a situation where you got Toronto, I think, in a bounce back spot. I think coming off of yesterday's misleading loss, I think they have the upper hand in the starting pitching matchup. I think their bullpen is in the better situation out of both of them. So basically and the market indicators are on Toronto. So basically everything I look for points to Toronto. You got one of those young pitchers who has really good stuff, who has never been seen before by the opposing hitters. That's an advantage to the starting pitcher. The first time the hitters have to face him, a lot of times they tend to struggle. So that's going to do it, man. So those plays one more time today are Oklahoma City Thunder -7.5, over 9 in the Brewers Pirates game, and then Toronto Blue Jays minus 112. And then I didn't even comment on the NHL. We do have 3 NHL plays. I don't know what to think about any of these games, man. I don't really have a great read on any of these. Boston, Toronto, my Bruins having to go to Toronto. Toronto's down from minus 111 to minus 107. 65% of the tickets, but 72% of the cash on them. So the line looks like it's moving against Toronto, but it looks like they have the cash discrepancy. I don't know what to think. The line is telling you that the Bruins are the better team. It's possible the Bruins like zigzag this thing and bounce back from a game 2 loss. I don't really know what to think about that. Dallas against Vegas is up from minus 150 to minus 173 with 87% of the tickets, 96% of the cash. So Dallas is public, and they're a way heavier favorite than they were in game 1. So it looks like the books are coming in and accommodating for the zigzag, because Dallas was only like minus 130 in game 1, and I played it and lost. And Dallas is still looking for revenge against Vegas, man. Vegas eliminated them last year. Dallas still has not beaten them since then. Dallas lost to them every time this year, all 3 games, and lost game 1. So something's got to give there. So I do think Dallas should finally win a game in that series tonight, but the price is way too high. Like, given that it was only 130 in game 1, there's no reason for that price to be up to minus 173 now in game 2. So if you're looking for the zigzag after Dallas got upset in game 1, you're not getting a good price at all on it. So we're not going to be doing that. And then the LA Kings and Edmonton, I believe Edmonton's leading that series 1-0. They're the better team. They're the home favorite. They're up from minus 180 to minus 190 with 95% of the tickets, 99% of the cash. So Edmonton is public, but I don't think I'm going to be looking to fade them either. So that's it, man. That's the rundown. Have a good day. Peace out.